welcome to the Redvee TV preview show, supported by A-Star Recruitment for the 2022 season, as we look ahead to this week's Betfred Super League Round 11 clash against the Salford Red Devils from the Totally Wicked Stadium. Kevin, we've dropped everyone.
Yes, everybody out. Clean broom, sweep them all aside and get other players in. What a shambles, eh?
Straight into the squad then, may as well.
Yeah, why not?
Talk us through it, Kev.
All right, 11 changes. Tommy Makinson, Will Hopperwarty, Mark Percival, Johnny Lomax, Alex Walsley, James Roby, Matty Lees, Sione Matautia, Joe Batchelor, Morgan Knowles and Iggy Parsi all come in place of Jake Winfield, who's got a shoulder injury, James Bell, who has got a 2-game suspension, Lewis Baxter, Taylor Pemberton, Shea Martin, Danny Moss, George Delaney, John Bennison, who's got a fractured cheekbone, Mackenzie Buckley, Rio Corkill and Ellis Archer.
That was good off the top of your head. Who survived the cull then, Kev?
So, surviving the cull, well, all of them.
No, from last week.
Well, Jack Wellesby, though he didn't play, Joey Lussick, Louis, Kyle, Josh Sim, Ben Davis, Dan Norman, Sam Royal, Redvee.net sponsored Danny Hill and Juma Sambu, who scored a great finish in the corner against Cass.
Imagine if you were on him any time.
I know, imagine if you managed to back that. Be quite smart about
it. Obviously, it was to be expected that all the big players would come back this week ahead of next week's semi-final against Wigan. Is this the game that Christian Wolf now looks at as basically his dress rehearsal?
I think it's got to be, yeah. I think that I say that there's probably a train of thought of you leave things how they were before the Cast game and just drop Robes into 7 and get through this week, get through next week, and then you can potentially look at changing things. In my opinion, you start having a look at your spine, you change spine in games. And I think with Will Hopperwarty likely to start with everything that Christian Wolf said, I think that will lead from him playing fullback, Jack Wellesby moving into the halves alongside Johnny Lomax, and you've got to see how they start playing together.
Yeah, you assume that the long-term plan is Will Hopperwarty at full-back. Does he go with that this week? And if he doesn't, there's various options here, isn't there? You could potentially leave Jack Wellesby at full-back and obviously play Robes in the halves, as you've said. You could move Wellesby into the halves and move Hopperwarty to full-back. But if you only want to move one position round, you've got the option of young Danny Hill going in at fullback, potentially. Tommy Makinson going in at fullback. Juma Sambu on the wing. No, you're probably not going to move Tommy, are you? Obviously, with Regan still being out. The likelihood is it's going to be Hopperwarty at fullback, you'd imagine.
Yeah, I think, well, from everything Christian said, I think he's alluded to it enough. He's mentioned that Will's played there quite a bit in the NRL. He's played there a bit internationally as well. So it all sounds like he knows what he's going to bring at fullback. So it just sounds like that's going to be the option. We know Jack Wellesby can play pretty much anywhere. So you'd have no problem with dropping him into the halves, because the other option is Will Hopperwarty going into the halves and playing there, because I think that has been mentioned in some quarters. To me, I think I'd be more excited at seeing Jack Wellesby getting his hands on the ball at 6 or 7 and trying to guide us around a little bit more. I think that's possibly where he'll end up later on in his career, if he doesn't end up at somewhere like 13 properly getting his hands on the ball. I think that he'll probably end up in the halves alongside hopefully Lewis Dodd. So yeah, I think that's what he'll go with, to be fair, mate. And I've seen a bit of clamour, a couple of comments on various posts on social media saying people had left Daniel Moss in and played him at 7 this week. But with the likes of that, you've got to remember a couple of things. He played really, really well against Castleford. But you've got to exercise caution with young lads in key positions. It's exactly what we did with Lewis Dodd, where he dipped in, he played a bit of 9 instead of playing at 7. It's a key position. As you said, now's the time to get the combos for the semi-finals sorted. And the one thing that I will urge caution with Daniel Moss as well is, on match day, he worked from 6 a.m. till 3 p.m. because he's still a part-time player.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, Kev, the clamour for me would be to get the lad in at the club full-time on a full-time deal. Before anything else, I can't install updates by the looks of it. One permutation I've not seen mentioned, could Ben Davies stay in the Harbs?
Listen, I think that's where he started his career, and he could do. I don't think he will. I think that was almost like we spoke to Christian Wolf after the game, didn't we? Before we did Instant Fan Reaction, and he was saying that Ben Davies has got the skill set to do it. And you know what? He didn't have a bad game at 6, but I think that was just about getting him as one of the older lads in the squad as well, because he's 22 now, I think, Ben Davies. Him just getting his hands on the ball and leading them round. There was a terrific picture that Josh Sim shared on his social media of the players all in a huddle, and you can see everyone, including the captain for the day, Sam Royal, was listening to Ben Davies. So listen, and I'm not that's not a slight at Sam Royal at all. Sam Royal knows as a captain when to listen and when to talk. That's what that shows me. But as one of the leaders, it's probably just him getting his hands on the ball. I'd almost fully expect Ben Davies to get more game time this week because Conrad Garell's out suspended, but Steve in a more natural position of centre.
Yeah, the obvious or unfortunate injury this week was obviously John Bennison. He's done really well in the 3 games he's come in. Probably would have stayed in the 17, you'd imagine, for the next couple of weeks. But has obviously suffered that unfortunate fractured cheekbone just as he's getting going. So we wish him well. 6 to 8 weeks out generally for them injuries. But yeah, it seems we've just have a glut of injuries in key positions at the moment, Kev, at like centre, wing, and in the halves. And it's probably the testament to our squad strength that we can still be talking 4 or 5 options.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's good salary cap management, which I think some people can end up forgetting how you've got to manage that salary cap. You can't just go out spending as much money as you want on whoever you want. So, as you say, the likes of bringing Ben Davies in, potentially in the centres, I don't see that as an issue. We just spoke about John Bennison. We obviously wish the lad really like his recovery to be as quick and painless as it possibly could be. But we spoke about him and said, you're not concerned about John Bennison being out on that wing because you know that the trust is there with him and he is a good player. It's the same with the likes of Ben Davies. I've got no problems with him coming in. If he makes a mistake, if he costs us a try or 2, I'm not bothered really. He's got to learn his trade. And if you're going to do it in a game, you might as well do it in a game at home against, listen, Salford went really well last week against Wigan, but against the team who you think, well, they're not up in the top 4. So this is your time to get in there, get another bit of rugby under your belt and try and stick around in that 70.
Absolutely. Okay, Kev, so let's go to the teams that we would go with this week. Now, I will caution on this one. this is the team that I would go with, not necessarily the team I think that will be picked. Now, I've gone for Juma Sambu on the wing, just because I personally would like to see a winger playing on the wing rather than shoehorning a centre into that position. Given that we're playing Wigan next week, I don't think that'll happen, because I don't think you'd want somebody with only like 2 appearances under the belt and only 1 with the first team for such a high pressure game. So I do actually think your team is more likely, and probably is the team that is going to happen. But moving forward, if we're out Regan or Tommy, I think the likes of Juma Sambu, who's come in as a winger, done a job, deserve maybe a chance with the first team. But that's just me. But yeah, talk us through your team.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, to be fair. I've gone with Sim just because of the experience. He's got a bit more experience there. He can play wing as well. I have no problem with him playing over there. As you say, whether it be Juma, whether it be Shea Martin, gets a chance with us. And he will get chances, I'd imagine, as the season progresses, because we've got another one of them triple headers anyway, so I can see that changing.
You almost see it as a reward, Kev. You say to the first team, do you know what, lads? Go on a winning run, build a lead at the top of the table, and you can all have that week off on that triple header.
Yeah, well, that's the thing to do. Just going at my other difference to yours is starting Joey Lussick. If he's fit enough, I know he had a back spasm against Castleford, but if he's fit enough, I'd start him, because then you are still tempering James Roby's minutes, and he's not playing a full 80. And I think you'd start Robes against Wigan, but I think with this game, as long as Joey Lussick is fit, I'd start him above James Roby.
Yeah. Is there potential for maybe Kyle Amos sneaking onto the bench this week and giving Dan Norman a week off?
Yeah. The Super League did us dirty, because they had him listed as 185 metres, and then it got dropped to about 156 in the week, which I think is unfair. I think they should free Kyle Amos 30 metres that they've taken off him there. But yeah, listen, you robbed him. Kyle has really, he's done what you'd expect a senior pro to do, and put his hand up and take the carries and make the meters. But you know what? He's done it to such an extent last week to show them young forwards how to do it, how to act, how to keep putting your hands up for that work, how to keep taking the ball in. Listen, would it surprise me if Kyler Moore hasn't sneaked on there in place of maybe Dan Norman? No, it wouldn't surprise me at all. The only reason I've gone for Dan Norman is because I think at the minute he is closer to the setup. In previous weeks, he's been closer to the 17 than Kyle has.
Oh, absolutely. I still think Dan Norman is at this stage of the career is above Kyle in the pecking order. I'm more thinking of Dan's been in the squad last couple of weeks, just potentially rotate someone, especially given the amount of head knocks that tend to occur, the amount of bans that we're getting. It just seems like sod's law a little bit that we left John Bennison and James Bell in the team at Castleford amongst the kids. I say John Bennison as if he's an experienced head now, but they're both missing out because of obviously suspension and injury, respectively. And it's like a little bit of a curse, it seems, at the moment.
Yeah, I get it. That's it, and I get that. I suppose it's one of them that, as you say, like you turn around and say my team's probably closer to what's going to be picked. We could both be off here, and Kyle could be on that bench. Kyle and Dan Norman could both be on that bench. But yeah, as I say, I'm going with Dan just because he's been in and around. He did a big stint against Cass. He didn't play against Wigan on Good Friday, did he? He did. Did he do big minutes at Huddersfield?
No, he did. To be fair, he didn't. I think he did about 20 minutes at Huddersfield, obviously with the idea that I was obviously going to play against Cass.
Yeah. I suppose, sorry, Dave, I suppose the one thing on that as well is we're naming like Kyler Moore and Dan Norman there. It may be that we go with someone like Sam Royal as well, because we've not got a second row option. I know we tend to drop Robes into 13 and give Morgan Knowles a rest, but it might be that we could do that with Louis, but we might put Sam Royal in there to kind of spell second rowers, especially with Sione only just coming back from injury.
Absolutely. It's good to have options, isn't it?
It's great. It's great. And you know what? I'd rather have this, and I'd rather have us getting a 17 wrong by 3 or 4 players because we've got them options, and we can pick and choose and turn around and say, well, you know what? You can have another week off. Or Sione, you're only playing 60 minutes because Sam Royal's doing the last 20, and we can do stuff like that rather than us turning around going, we're down to the bare bones here. This is definitely going to be the 17.
Okay, Salford squad did well at Wigan last week. I don't know whether that says more about Wigan than it does about Salford, but unluckily came away with a loss. But short 5-day turnaround against the fully rested Saints. It should be a Saints win, shouldn't it?
Well, listen, that's what I'd back. I think if you look at positions in the table, historic results, that's what you would go with.
Yeah.
I think
52 meetings in Super League, Kev. Saints have won 44 to Salford's 8.
Well, there we go then. That's probably why
Salford haven't won at Saints for 42 years.
Yeah, well, Castleford knocked the hoodoo on the head last season, didn't they? So them records are there to be broken, Dave. In fact, I think before that you actually said that Castleford wouldn't break their record or something like that and ended up jinxing us. But it's interesting that they've only got a 20-man squad instead of 21. And I think the missing Mark Sneed there as well, aren't they? Which is a big miss for him. He's a points machine. He's going to be the tiller to get him around the park. But yeah, listen, Saints should win the game. They should, to all intents and purposes. Doesn't necessarily mean they will, but that's what you back, isn't it?
Yeah. Poor old Matt Costello can't even get a sponsor. Even Brodie Croft's got the dog and partridge.
Fair enough.
Have to have a whip round. Yeah. Predictions then, Kev?
I'm going to stick with my standard Saints by 14. I think we've had a week off, bit of a rest up. We'll go out and we'll make it easy. But we've had some good games against Salford in the past. You can forget that Matty Smith drop goal. But yeah, I'm just going to go Saints by 14, and it'll be a second gear type performance from us.
Yeah, I can't see us having to get out to second gear in this game, to be perfectly honest with you. It should be a routine win, so I'll go Saints by 34.
I'll back that because you're usually quite close. We'll speak to Dave.
Last few weeks have been win too.
We'll speak to Dave Howard. He's quite good at them as well.
Well, he's not, because he told us to back Saints by 1-5 against Cass last week.
Yeah, who did?
No, we just did. It's Juman instead.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's us done and dusted. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll catch you after the game on Friday evening at the newly renewed sponsorship Totally Wicked Stadium. Catch you soon.